Hello everyone, and welcome to my Diablo 2 Resurrected Druid guide. In this guide, I'm going to talk about the skill trees that I like to use when I level, but also at max level for Elemental, Shapeshifter, and Summoner. I'll also show you the attributes that I pick for each specialization, and I've added a timeline so you can easily skip to the part that you're looking for. Alright, so the first specialization is going to be Elemental, also known as the Wind Druid. First, I will show you what I choose when I'm leveling. Usually, I go with Firestorm, and I spend between 1 to 5 points into this. Mainly, I spend 5 points, because then I'll be level 6, and at level 6, I can choose the next skill. I spend 5 points into Molten Boulder. This also synergy from Firestorm, so all the points we have spent into Firestorm will benefit this skill. If you like Molten Boulder a lot, then it's not a bad decision to spend a couple of more skill points into this skill. Else I recommend you to start spending points into Fissure. This is a great way to do a lot of AoE damage, and you can easily combine this with Molten Boulder. I recommend you to spend points into these when you're leveling in normal. Once you go into Nightmare, then you should reset your skills. I have a video with how you can easily reset your skill points. You could always just do something else instead of doing a reset. So when you're leveling with Trist runs or Tomb runs, then you could just go for a build like this. You will not do any damage, but you will keep a reset. So if you're planning to do a solo run, then I recommend you to go for the other build. Let's however say you went with the build that I showed you before. Then you need to start maxing out Cyclone Armor, because Cyclone Armor will synergy with Twister, it will also synergy with Tornado, and it will even synergy with Hurricane. So you need to max out all these 4 skills to maximize your wind damage. As you max out the skills, you also need to start spending some skill points into the summoning tree. First, spend a point into Poison Creeper. Just get this, because it's a decent way to do some damage, and with plus all skillers, this will benefit. Also spend a point into Raven. Raven is also a decent way to have some extra damage, but mainly I picked this to get Summon Spirit Wolf. Summon Spirit Wolf I spent a point into, also another minion. And Summon Direwolf is not unlocked until you have spent a point into Oak Sage. So spend a point into this to unlock the other wolf. But as you see, this increases your life, so every time you spend a point into this, you increase the life of you, your pet, and your party. But before you max this out, make sure to spend a point into Summon Direwolf, and a point into Summon Grizzly. Once you have done this, you can spend the remaining points into Oak. Next up is the attributes. Usually I spend a lot of points into Strength. This is to make sure that I can equip all the gear pieces. I do the same with Dexterity, so I spend points into this to be able to equip my gear. The more points you spend into Dexterity, the higher defense you also get, so more chance to block. Some people like to go for this, especially if they like to PvP. As you level, then it's important to spend points into Vitality. This is the stat that you need to spend the most points into. Sometimes I also spend points into Energy to increase the mana. But at max level, you should not spend any points into Energy, because you will have items that increase your mana, but also items that resupply you with mana every time you hit someone or kill a target. For the Shapeshifter, there's one build that I like to use, and this you can just start building up as you level. The first point should be spent into Werewolf. This will allow you to transform yourself into a werewolf. In this form, you will increase your life and stamina bonus with 25%. But the duration of this is only 40 seconds. To increase the duration, you need to start spending points into the skill right next to. The more points you spend into this, the longer duration, but also the more maximum life. So this you should also spend a good amount of points into. Now you have to start spending points into Feral Rage. Feral Rage will grant you a lot of bonus. For example, more damage, attack rating, but also lifesteal. And lifesteal is the big thing here, because this will make you able to kill a lot more monsters at the same time. You can also spend 1 point into rabies. You spend a point into this to unlock the skill right below this. But what's also important is that you keep spending points into the 2 skills at the top of the skill tree. Meanwhile, you also need to start spending points into Fury. Fury is also a skill that you need to max out. And why I like this skill is because it allows a druid to start cleaving multiple targets at the same time. Make sure to max out these 4 skills that I've maxed out in this clip. By maxing out these 4 skills, you also increase the damage and the chance of you being able to do Ubers as a druid. You should also consider spending some points into the summoning skills. In this tree, you can get some pets, and these pets will allow you to not always be the main target. So you can slowly be in the background, kill targets without getting instantly killed by a lot of monsters. In this skill tree, you will also find Heart of the Wolverine, and all the remaining skill points I will put into this skill, because it increased my life, but also my damage and attack. There's 2 different attribute trees that I like to use as a shapeshifting druid. The first tree is focusing on maximum damage, so I spent next to no points into vitality. I spent very few points into dexterity to equip my items, but all the remaining points is spent into strength, and this will increase my maximum damage. For the second skill tree, I don't put as many points into strength, mainly I go for more vitality. And this is just to increase my maximum damage. So it's really what you prefer. Do you prefer to have more damage, or do you prefer to have more life? The last build is the Summoner Druid. And for new players, this is probably going to be the easiest one to play. As you start leveling, you need to spend points into Raven. This I usually spend around 5 points into. Then you will unlock Summon Spirit Wolf. And at level 6, I start spending points into this. You could also spend points into Oak, but I don't recommend you do this yet, because we only have Ravens that will benefit from this skill. So instead, spend points into Summon Spirit Wolf. By this point, you could start spending points into Oak. Now you have also unlocked the possibility to spend points into Summon Direwolf, and this you need to spend a lot of points into. It's also important to spend points into Grizzly, because this is another pet that you need to have up all the time. Summon Grizzly also synergy from Summon Spirit Wolf and Summon Direwolf. So all these 3 skills is important to max out to increase the potential of your pet. You could also try to max out Raven if you like those. Else I prefer to maximize Oak. Once you have maximized this, you could also start spending points into one of the other skill trees. You could, for example, spend points into either the werewolf or maybe the bear. This will allow your character to also do some damage, and not only your pets. Leveling as a shapeshifter druid, you need to make sure you increase your vitality, but you also need dexterity and strength to equip your items. Mainly, I try to also go for a bit of energy when I'm leveling, because mana-wise, it's going to be expensive to summon all these animals. At max level, I would put all points into vitality the moment I have the strength and dexterity that I need. And energy is a no-go at max level, because your items will provide you with more energy, or maybe mana stolen per hit, or mana after each kill. If you like to do duels, then having a lot of vitality is also going to be mandatory. And some people also like to spend a lot of points into dexterity to increase their defense in PvP. Also, if you plan to make a hardcore character, then having a high amount of vitality is going to be so helpful. If you don't have a high amount of vitality, then you just do a little mistake and your character is dead. Alright, so that's about it for this Druid guide. If you would like to see other class guides, then make sure to check out my channel. I also have some useful tips and tricks and beginner guides in case it's your first time in Diablo 2 Resurrected. As always, thank you for watching, and have an amazing day. Peace.